Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
David, I think we're streaming live.
Are we?
To the Transform Sales. I appreciate you coming on the show. You are obviously someone that I would call you a mentor without being my mentor, because frankly, you are and have been all about transforming sales, which turned out to be my passion. I had to open up a BPO that transformed into that to realize what it was. And I'm always just absorbing your content from day one. Before we get started, I'm like, you've probably been on so many shows, so you probably mention this all the time, but I love asking my guests something that, people wouldn't know about them by watching all their podcasts and stuff. Mm-hmm. Fact about yourself?
Anything about myself? I don't know. I have a long history. I don't know where to start. I was a graffiti writer. I got in trouble a lot in
Have you ever
New
been in
York.
jail?
Have I ever been convicted in jail? Convicted? No.
Me too.
I've never been visited.
In jail and let out. Yes, in Japan. I got stopped in the airport for having Adderall and Xanax in my name, prescribed to me by my doctor, but I was thrown in jail for 13 nights, could have been 3 years.
That's no surprise. Adderall and Xanax. That's a perfect combination for you.
You are a meth smuggler and a psychedelic drug smuggler. I'm like, I just wanted to sleep on the plane, and I wanted to focus on writing some contracts for CloudTest. This is in 2015. But
that's awesome. Locked up in Japan. No, I've never been locked up. I've been in many the back of a police car, though. I'll tell you that.
Not out. That's what's important.
Yeah.
Not out. You went on to do some awesome stuff. So I think I'm happy to talk to you about transforming sales transformation, because you're not only you've done it, but you're continuing to do it, right? And I think it kind of starts off at the beginning where, from my understanding, rumor has it that you helped fix HubSpot, right? That's kind of what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I think. To me, it sounds like you've been doing this for quite some time. I don't want to get back into the marketing automation days, but I would ask you this question. When you founded Drift, was the goal to transform sales and give the buyer a better buying decision? What was the aha moment? I'm going to launch Drift.
It's always complicated, as you know, starting business. The aha moment for me was just looking at the way that, having left Unperformable, HubSpot, Lookery, all these companies that were in the marketing space and sales space, marketing and sales space, just having time to reflect, which I don't usually have much time in between leaving HubSpot and starting Drift, and thinking wait a second, the way that we buy anything, I was looking at, the way, we buy everything online from an e-commerce standpoint, and thinking about how different it is on the business side of things, why it's so complicated, why I felt like it didn't make sense anymore. And then I thought that was the way the world was moving. It was going to look a lot closer to e-commerce. I didn't know what, meaning highly considered purchases. I didn't know what it would look like, but I thought that was inevitable. And so that got me excited. And then I thought if that's true, then everything that I've ever built in my career, from CRMs to marketing automation systems to CMSs to whatever, all this stuff would have to be rebuilt for a different world. And that was exciting to me. How would if I started from scratch, how would I rebuild everything? How would we do it in service of the buyer versus in service of the company? And so that lit me up.
For me, not only was your product a product that was clearly a sales transformation product, but with a roadmap to continue doing that, because you obviously release more products. But the way you guys went to market and made so much noise on LinkedIn itself, I think almost not only did you guys have a product, but you also showed a movement that could have been done, right? In my opinion, because there was such coordination on LinkedIn that gave so much visibility of your product and service that I don't know if you were able to measure it, but I would almost imagine that LinkedIn probably almost accounted for 20% of your awareness, considering your funnel, right? Did you end up calculating that number? Was it intentional? Did you guys intentionally say, hey, we're going to crack the code with LinkedIn? Or is it just kind of something that all of a sudden happened with all the young superstars that you brought on the team?
No, I kind of had a deliberate plan on LinkedIn. I didn't know if we were able to do it or not. And what I was looking at it, I was just having been doing a lot of stuff in social networks for a long time. With, you know, the beginning of Facebook, was an early partner with Lookery back when they launched the platform in 2007. And then, you know, Twitter and all these platforms, and looking at LinkedIn and thinking like, you know, it had gone pretty large, and then it was acquired by Microsoft. It was kind of in a quiet period when we started Drift, and thinking like it's the ultimate network because it's kind of the reverse of every other network. Meaning like if you can get people to connect with you, if you can get in the same groups as other people, then all of those people are opting in to hear from you. They're opting into a funnel because if your stuff gets liked a lot, if your stuff gets commented a lot, then it rises in their stream and they are seeing your stuff. They've opted into this kind of into this funnel that you can control. And so thought about that a lot, thought about what kind of content was being shared on that, and thought it was pretty boring at that time when we started using it. A lot of people, almost no one was doing video on it. Not many people were talking about brand. Not many people were talking about a lot of the stuff that we ended up talking about. Not that say that it was original or anything, but you know, no one was doing that on that platform. But we took kind of patterns we saw in other platforms, whether it was IG or Twitter or et cetera, and started to put them in here. And I think before that, mostly what I saw on that, people really treated it as a business thing. People really treated it as like, oh, there's personal me and there's the business.
Yeah, when someone's like, I'm on LinkedIn, when someone says, I'm at work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, where it comes to a place to go, I think, is always changing. I think the strategy is probably consistent, right? And the messaging, you know, I think that would be consistent, probably advise people. I appreciate that feedback. When I also look at a Drift, I probably also say that you were one of the first companies that promoted making your employees almost famous, right? And that's a scary thing for a lot of big organizations, right? And you know, talking about your colleague, you know, your previous colleague Dave, right? Dave Garrett, his name. Yeah. I would also talk to some of my employees and be like, why are you not posting stuff? You could be like this guy. It's for you. It's your resume. It's your social thing. How was that process? Where did that come? Was that something where it was a fully supported company wide? Was it new to you guys? And also like, I'm not sure how this is going to play out. And what was your learnings from that?
Yeah, I mean, it was my crazy idea to do it, you know, and I knew there was a bunch of things that could go wrong with it, you know, that would keep other businesses from doing it initially. One was that they were afraid, they couldn't control it. They were afraid what their employees would say. So they didn't want to put them out there. They wanted to vet everything. They wanted to go through PR and everything. So that was an opportunity. The other danger was that, you know, when people get famous, then they change, right? Like, and so like they may think they're bigger than the brand, they're bigger than this. And so like there was that risk, like, you know, that you could lose your best employees because, you know, now they were in, you know, LinkedIn famous or Insta famous or whatever. But I thought, you know, the reason that I wanted to do it, and I really pushed it in the early days, was that people connect to people. Right? Relationships are people-based. And so like there was one thing that I noticed, like even in my own postings, was that if we posted something from Drift, this is on LinkedIn, this is true on all networks really, from Drift, or I posted it from me and it was the exact same thing, mine would naturally get more engagement.
Oh yeah.
Because I was a person, right? Like I wasn't Drift, I wasn't CloudTask. Like what is a CloudTask? What is, like, you know, a company is a fictional thing and it's not a real thing. It's not a
it's like a condominium.
Yeah, it's like a condominium, right? Yeah, it's a fictional thing. It's a legal, you know, creation. It's not a thing. A company is a group of people. So like going out, put the people out there, people connect with people. You know, when you see someone's, and this is why we did videos and photos, and it was always like, we never used stock anything. We always created our own stuff. Because when I saw Amir, I want to connect with Amir. That's a human right there. When I saw some stock photo of someone artificial, you know, businessy in office, I don't want to connect to that. I have no interest in that. Yeah, and I think because of something that we were talking about before we started recording, which was that the way the world is moving is the world wants to buy, you know, a solution. They don't want to buy software. They don't want to buy people in terms of outsourced people. They just want a solution. They want an outcome. That's the way we think about it. I want to buy an outcome. I'm doing that more and more in the rest of my life. You know, Uber is an example of an outcome. You know, there's endless examples of outcomes. I want an outcome. I don't want to know how it works. I don't want to know both from the people standpoint, but also from the technology standpoint. I shouldn't even know how it works. I just want to buy, an outcome
Oh yeah,
that.
I'm a huge believer in that. If you're spending any time or mental energy understanding how it works, you're not fixing your problem. Your problem.
Yeah, totally.
Like I want David Cancel thinking about how can I get more outcomes for my customers with my
Mm-hmm.
product, not how I can reverse it. So yeah, we're aligned on that, Dave. I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to tell you that I believe that our future is going to be directory sites where you can transact, right?
Interesting.
And maybe I'll build it, right?
Yeah, you should build it.
I do action. I'm Mr. Action. I'll just build stuff, right? Like,
Not me. I'm too tired.
Picture, yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
You're a young guy.
I'm 38. I got I don't know how many years left I got to be. We'll see. Living south has kept me younger, but maybe 10 years. Who knows? But no. So for me, I guess another question I have for you is that I ultimately have a lot of respect for people that have gone through very prestigious schools, right? And
sure.
Do you think that it's a requirement? Like, do you think some founders may be intimidated, being like, oh, David Cancel, he's like a Harvard guy. This guy's a genius. This is why. Or do you think, I
didn't qualify to clean the toilets at Harvard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you can make your resume, but do you think that some people are intimidated by taking risks because of their, opportunities they were given at young ages?
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure, 100%. So I think about this a lot because I am an entrepreneur resident at Harvard Business School, which just means that I'm available every quarter. I spend like 5 to 6 hours with kids. Harvard Business School is not kids. Harvard, to me, everyone's a kid. HBS students who are first year or second year, who sign up, in advance and want to spend time with me. And so I spend time with them, and most of them are asking me, career advice. Should I start a company? Should I start this company? And they have a specific idea. Should I start a company? No idea. Should I, do X, Y, Z? And I'm, for me, I one of the things I tell them is like, you're asking career advice from someone who never wanted a career. All I want is never to have a career. Like all I want, that's why as an entrepreneur, all I want is freedom. I don't want a career. So so that's one thing. And then the second thing that I tell them is like, look, like you have a lot of expectations on you, because this amazing school that you've gone to. So you have family expectations, you have peer expectations, you have constant FOMO of everybody has a better offer. And most of the time they come to me and they have 5 different offers, hedge fund this, global ambassador this, or should I start a company this? I'm like, it's already too rational. It's already, you're trying to be too logical about this. And this thing of starting a business is not a logical thing. If you have all of this optionality, all of this amazing stuff that you're trading off, plus you have amazing expectations, you have high expectations from family and peers, man, it's going to be hard work. I was able to do my gift that I had. And the reason that I was able to do this when I did was that I had no expectations, zero. No one expected anything.
Like I'm alive.
So, yeah.
Like, oh my God.
No one expected any of that. No one expected me to, to do anything. The only thing my dad ever, when he was alive, gave me advice from on a career standpoint was that one day he brought me an application for the New York City sanitation department so that I could have a good job. My mom started crying and I would never be a garbage man. That was it. That was the only expectation I had in my life.
You could have been transforming garbage.
Yeah, I could have been at the back of a garbage truck. Yeah. So that was the expectation that I had. So anything I did was gravy, because I was a software engineer. I knew I could get a job that's doing something at some point. So I had no risk, in other words.
Do you think there's also an ongoing inbound effect of someone's resume?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's like there's a magnifier effect. To me, there's just like, it's like when you throw like pebbles in a pond or in a lake or in the water, you have those little ripples. And so all those people become magnifiers, become ripples. and they drag along the company, they drag along the brand with them. And of course, you want to, even if you're not you're not with a company any longer, you want to look back at a company and be like, I was at a Drift, I was at a Cloud Test, I was at a Nike, an Apple, whatever. You want to be proud of that. And so everyone's inherently motivated to make that positive if possible.
And that's a good point. Yeah, and I'm seeing that, right? I think we're all connecting the dots. So back to sales transformation. I strongly believe that you've been in the space for a while. You're a pioneer, you're a leader, which is playing in that space. How you go to market is also a learning experience for a lot of leaders. One of the things that I really liked about you guys is also your adoption of channel partnerships, right? Early on, you guys, and I don't know, for me, I can't tell you like what average company size and revenue they do that, right? But yeah. I would get a gut feeling that you were probably below the size that a average company, typical company would make that investment in channel that you did, right? And to me, that also is a way of transforming sales, because I still am in today a partner Slack chat, right? And I can open it up right now. And like, there's just so many partners helping each other. I've never actually been in a community that was so helpful, right? And educating. And to me, I would ask, if you could go back in time and start from scratch, would you have purely, and could you have grown only with a channel versus having internal and external?
I think so. I think we could have grown entirely with a channel. It was a totally different approach, right? I don't know what, how big we would be versus that, but I think we could have built a business entirely on a channel. I think one problem that we had, or one reason we didn't do it in the early days, was that we were trying to create a market. We were trying to create a category. We were just starting, and so we weren't sure how big. Yeah. And so like right now, like now that there is a market, there is, people understand what it is. I think it's, would be a lot easier today to build it from a channel standpoint.
I'm not going to keep you much longer, but we're going to continue to transform sales. For anybody who wants to reach out to you and listen to any of your podcasts or lectures, what's the best way for them to find you? Other than, I shouldn't tell people, but I DM'd David on Instagram.
DM, get in the DM. Speaking of DMs, the number one way to contact me is to text me at +1 212 380 1036. +1 212 380 1036. That's the direct line into my.
I'm gonna text all the time. I'm gonna put an automatic text that texts you positive stuff in the morning. And it's gonna say sincerely in there.
All right, that's the way.
And it was a pleasure as always. I will.
Thank you, brother.